All right, if most of America is overweight and we have a drug that cures overweight, should most of America be on that drug? I'm James Parker. It's the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. We all know that someone who's on one of the Ozempics or Manjaros or GLP-1 or 3 or whatever the heck that's going on. But should most people be on it? Listen to this exchange between Scott Galloway and Bill Maher on Friday's HBO show.
Every time we find out something new about GLP-1, it's a positive. They're now saying that it reduces the likelihood of stage 1 cancer going to metastatic cancer is actually been reduced by 50%. Every time we keep waiting for another shoe to drop, we find out, oh, it's actually a good thing. Everyone at this table is going to be on a GLP-1 within 24 months.
But if you live in Greenville, Mississippi,
but not everyone at this table.
No.
Absolutely. They also found out some other.
Everyone should be.
Oh, well, it's not been around long enough.
The studies around the upside versus the downside here, it's the most transformative technology in a while.
It is very transformative. It also saps, they have found, people's drive. I mean, your drive to eat, but also like your drive to work. You know, you're kind of like, the companies don't like it because that kind of like eye of the tiger,
right?
That goes away in a lot of people when they take this.
Well, the fear is it doesn't want to make you eat less. It just makes you want less. That's the fear, right?
I don't want to want less.
Fair enough.
I can control my eating without a drug. I mean, you know, where's the psychology?
Yeah, I said 30% of America, Bill.
What?
I think you're blessed with genetics that make it easy for you, and you have the money to eat well. I think there are food deserts.
Okay, but what? But I've showed this picture before of people like in 1969. I think you take any crowd shot, like them looking at the rocket going up for the moon landing. Look at the crowd. There's no fat people in the crowd. And trust me, cake was delicious in 1969.
All right, now I didn't see that until Sunday, but I've kind of been thinking about that ever since. And I want to talk about it with you and my next guest, Dr. Matt Chalmers from Chalmers Wellness. He's the regular health analyst on the James Show. What do you think about just this general idea? If 70% of Americans are overweight, should 70% of Americans be thinking about getting on one of these weight loss drugs? All right, what's Retta? Okay, so when Scott Galloway says everyone should be on most of America should be on a GLP-1, are you substituting other drugs? Like are you against GLP-1s and specific to a GLP-3 or whatever? So let's talk about this concern here that it doesn't make you want to eat less or it doesn't make you want to smoke less. It just makes you want less. Is that a concern you've seen expressed elsewhere? Well, we're talking with Dr. Matt Chalmers from Chalmers Wellness about these new weight loss drugs. I have someone who's a close kind of in the family friend circle, recently lost over 50 pounds on one of these GLPs of some sort. And I'm not sure if she looks better. So what should you be supplementing with if you are on a GLP? Well, Chalmers, I remember a little over a year ago, there was a concern that some people were having some vision issues related to GLP-1 side effects. Did that ever pan out? Yeah, I remember you really stressing that, Matt, when we did the segment on Ozempic face. Remember, we are talking about the social phenomenon of being able to look at someone's face and recognize the Ozempicness. All right, we're talking with Dr. Matt Chalmers. Listen, I'm going to play this clip here from a recent interview with Elon Musk where he talks about immortality, or at least semi-immortality, being able to reverse the effects of aging is actually a solvable problem. We'll take a break, and then we'll hear Dr. Chalmers' reaction to this.
You got folks like Dario Amodei predicting doubling the human lifespan in the next 10 years. So
that's probably correct.
okay, great.
I don't know about doubling, but significant
increase.
Sure. This is something, by the way, that I think I think it's very, obviously other people think this too, but I've long thought that like longevity or semi-immortality is an extremely solvable problem. I don't think it's a particularly hard problem.
All right, are we about to double the average lifespan, the expected lifespan of a human in your time? You'll hear about that next on The James Show with Dr. Matt Chalmers. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, homeowners, James Parker here for Blue Ribbon Roofing. You never know when you're going to need a roof, and that's why you haven't been keeping up with, roofing companies. It's not like you have a bunch of baseball cards where you look at the back of the card and you see their stats, and this is how many roofs they've had, and this is how many Better Business Bureau complaints they've had, or what. You're not keeping up with, and that's okay. Nobody does. But when you need one, go to blueribbondfw.com and don't just trust the handsome guy on the radio. Look at all the 5-star Google reviews from some of your neighbors. Look at the comments that they took the time themselves to write out. It must have been a pretty good job they did if someone is taking time out of their day to give a nice report for a roofing company. I'll give you an example. This one's from Melanie. She says, our experience with Blue Ribbon Roofing was nothing less than positive. The neighbors are already commenting on how nice it looks. The turnaround time was 1 day from start to finish, including cleanup. We couldn't be more pleased with the outcome. There you go. So I want you to go to blueribbondfw.com, read some of the 5-star reviews, and then get the free inspection. And no matter what happens, they'll take good care of you. You need a new roof, we'll get working on that. You need help with the insurance paperwork, they can help you with that as well. Go to blueribbondfw.com. Are we about to win the battle against longevity? I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. We're continuing with my guest, Matt Chalmers from Chalmers Wellness. And listen, Matt, Elon Musk seems to think this is a pretty solvable problem. Now, I know no one means immortal, as in we're going to live forever and become God. But the idea that you could reverse the aging process, and I don't know why he thinks that would be so easy. I mean, what are we talking about doing here? Just scrubbing free radicals, or there has to be more to it than that? Okay, you've talked about this in I don't know how long you've been on the show, a couple years, and that seems to be something you've already solved, and it looks like just the rest of the world is figuring that out, or is there a new technology? All right, so are you pretty optimistic about our ability to extend human lifespans? Yeah, I've always felt sympathetic toward doctors when people say, yeah, you know what, doctors always prescribing drugs. They're so quick to prescribe a drug or an insulin or some other thing to deal with the condition rather than just telling them to diet and exercise. And I know just from knowing human beings, you probably tell them to diet and exercise. And I bet you almost none of them do. So the thing that also makes me a little more sympathetic to the doctor situation is when they do the surveys, less than a quarter of people actually exercise regularly. And I think you probably say to all of your patients, diet and exercise would probably help a lot with this, whether it's inflammation or whether it's loss of muscle tone or brittle bones or osteoporosis or your blood sugar levels or, any number of things. How do we get people to just start exercising? All right, Dr. Chalmers, I want to run one more thing by you in my health segment here. Elon Musk is working on his Neuralink visual implants, and they're working on a way to actually transfer images to the optic nerve here. And this sounds like sci-fi, but also possible. Check this
In
out.
the next 6 to 12 months, we'll be doing our first implants for vision, where even if somebody's completely blind, we can write directly to the visual cortex. But long term, you would have very high resolution and be able to see in multispectral wavelengths. You could see in infrared, ultraviolet, radar, like a superpower situation. In the next 6 to 12 months, we'll be doing our first.
So 6 to 12 months, we're going to have bionic eyes. That sounds kind of like fantasy. Does that sound real to you, Chalmers? Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds better than my eyes now. I can't see infrared. I can't see ultraviolet. I can't see radar. I might have to up my game and get a bionic eye. Well, it seems like a little more thoughtful and mature than what I see online. Because most guys, when I see them griping about their health problems, they seem to be worried about being short and bald. And I was like, there's a lot more important things out there, guys. There's a lot more. I mean, we just talked about longevity and making blind people see and making heavy people in shape. And all right, Chalmers, they can find you at chalmerswellness.com, or is it .org? What is it? Chalmerswellness.com. Thank you very much. Matt Chalmers on The James Show. All right. Coming up next on The James Show, I'm going to get you updated on the Iran war situation, where this war is about to get a little more war-y than it's been. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, it's Groundhog Day for the Iran war. I don't even remember. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Thank you very much for hanging out. Remember, WBAP, September 9th and 10th are going to be very special days here in DFW. The Republican midterm convention's coming to town, which also means the president's coming to town. President Trump is going to be next door at the American Airlines Center. So those 2 days, September 9th and 10th, when that happens and you hear the word September 9th or 10th, and you're in your car, turn it on WBAP. We will probably be doing something pretty cool. Now, I have to get you updated on the Iran war, because whether or not you've been keeping up with it day to day over the last about 3 months or so, you've really missed the same story that's just been re-racked and repeated. It's like when you used to listen to the tape, and it would get to the end of one side, so then you'd flip it over and play the other side, and then you get to that, you flip it over. We're just flipping the tape back and forth, really since the initial salvo in that first 4 to 6 week period where things were consistently blowing up. Then it's gone through the peace talks and ceasefire, and then flare up, and then flare down, and then flare up. And the thing that is different this time around is that we're now 3 months away from the election. Other than that, nothing is different than a month ago. Nothing is different than 2 months ago. Now, the verbiage has changed. And in his statements yesterday, well, he didn't come out and intentionally talk about the Iran war, but he knew when he was going to go out and sign that executive order, he would take questions from the reporters and he would be asked about it. Of course, that was the first part of it. But let me just play you the last minute and 19 seconds of that first answer, because this tells you that not necessarily what he's saying, but the fact that what he's saying has changed. This part of the pattern is different. This part of Groundhog Day is not the same as the previous 4 months of Groundhog Day.
And they said, we want to talk. We want to talk about the strait, but more importantly, from my standpoint, we want to talk about the denuclearization of Iran, because it's what it's all about. This is why I'm doing this. And it should have been done. It's now 50 years. We keep saying 47 years, but 3 years have gone by. But it's for 50 years that other presidents should have been doing or other countries. Didn't have to be us, but other countries. And nobody did it. And it was time. And we hit them hard with the B-2s more than a year ago now. And that knocked out their capability, their potential capability. We've done a great job. But when we talk, we say we're talking. If we're not talking, when you ask me, no, we're not talking, I'll say it. But we are talking right now. We're talking. And we're talking at the request of Iran, backed by Saudi Arabia, backed by UAE, and backed by Qatar in particular, but others also. Many countries called, the leaders of many are friendly with a lot of them, almost all of them, one way or the other, and they all wanted to give this a last chance. This is the last chance. This is not something that, if it doesn't happen, this is the last chance for them to sign a good document.
Now, meanwhile, on Wall Street, we've gained more than 1,000 points on the Dow today. They're not acting like we're about to go to war. They're not acting like the bombs are still flying, because bombs are flying. Bombs were flying yesterday. Bombs are probably flying right now. Remember, right now in Tehran, they are 8.5 hours ahead of us, so it's 11 o'clock there. Crude oil is down today. Are you kidding me? We're down in the 70s, 75-ish, 76 range. So I guess the market either doesn't care or they think this is over. I'm leaning toward over. I don't care what the final tally is or what the final peace deal says. I'm pretty sure this guy is going to pull out. He's going to claim victory. The media is going to claim defeat. And we're going to kind of hope this all just blows over before people go to the ballot box in November. Wall Street just posted a strong session. Now, it's not done. I don't think anything's going to tank between now and the close of the markets here, but we'll see in about an hour or so. But here we are. We're about to close at all-time record highs. 54,000 is what we're looking at now. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, we already have the Spirit Halloween store opening. I feel like that is a fantastic fantastic economic lesson once you look into some of the particulars of it. And we have some other local news highlights where a congressman was making fun of Somali fraud, and we'll get a good laugh at that too. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Remember, when you wake up, check out the WBAP Morning Show. It's got our buddies, Hal J, Ernie, Carla, Monty, Brad. They're all there. Joseph. All right, my next story, just kind of marking how fast the year's going by. I mean, we're in the middle of August. Kids haven't even gone back to school yet, and already there's a Spirit Halloween store popping up.
Hey, time to get your scare on. Spirit Halloween just opened its flagship store in New Jersey for the season. They'll open up pop-up locations all over the country over the next few weeks. In fact, USA Today, reports the popular seasonal retailer will open the most stores in history this Halloween. So 1,575. There'll be one on every corner before you know it.
I love this business. The problem you have with Halloween costumes, period, is that they're only really useful once a year. And you can say, well, there's other costume contests. You know what I mean. Halloween is by far and away the most popular time for costumes for the general public in America, period, point blank, end of story. So how do you come up with a business model that services that? You have a store that pops up for 2 months ahead of time, now 2.5, almost 3 months ahead of time. And then it goes away the other 9 months a year. Well, how could you do that? What happens to the building the other 9 months a year? Spirit Halloween said, not our problem. We're not going to make a building just to occupy it for 3 months. We're going to go find a building that someone else has abandoned. We're going to go occupy that for 2.5 or 3 months. And it works. And look at how efficient that is. Spirit Halloween doesn't own any stores. But it's going to have, 1,500 something locations? Isn't that wild? This is a new sort of era of commerce that's really exciting from an economic theory standpoint. Like Uber is the number one company for car rides, but they don't own one car. But this is the same thing that's going on with Spirit. It's
open the most stores in history this Halloween. So 1,575.
1,575, but they don't have any of those buildings. These are all temporary. How efficient is that? And what kind of logistical genius is making all this happen? We've got to get all this vampire blood. We've got to get all of this makeup. We've got to get all these wigs. We got to get all these fishnet pantyhose and these Chucky dolls and these decorations and these spider webs and all the little crazy wild socks and kid stuff. We got to get to 15,000 stores. We have to have them all there at the same time. And then we have to clean that whole thing up and get out of there within a week or two when it's done. Pack it up somewhere. Or set fire to it. I don't know. And then we'll redo this whole thing again in 9 months. The federal government, the state government, your local school district could never be that efficient. It's just an amazing display. All right, the other thing I wanted to play for you here is Brandon Gill. He's a local congressman. He's out of the Denton area, married to Dinesh D'Souza's daughter. But, man, he is not a Nepo baby. And he is not just put up there because of his name. He's going up there and he is just wrecking shop on a regular basis. Now, I pulled this last Friday, and I didn't get to play it for you on yesterday's show. But here's Brandon Gill at a hearing about Somali fraud across multiple states now. And the guy he's talking to, his name is Rosiak.
Mr. Rosiak, you've identified multiple individuals and LLCs that you believe engaged in fraud. How many of these had Somali or Bhutanese or other African origin names?
100%.
100%. And how many did you look through? I mean, that's 100% of how many, roughly?
I looked at the names of hundreds of companies. I looked more deeply into maybe 50.
More deeply into 50. You looked into hundreds of companies, and 100%, you're telling me, had names that were Somali, Bhutanese, or other sort of African origin derivation.
Correct. I thought I saw an American, and I was very excited, but it turned out to be the teenage son of that money launderer, who was actually just a proxy for this woman from Ghana.
What are some of these names that you come across? Do you hear the same names, or are they different names?
A guy named Robert Achiapong And then I found a different scammer named Roberta Achiapong. And I thought they were related, but they weren't. It's just that's how common it is to scam Medicaid when your name is Achiapong. And then I did the same thing with a guy named Aliu Conte, who has 30 criminal charges in Cuyahoga County or in Franklin County and threatened my family, malicious wounding, crazy stuff. This guy's a career criminal. And then there was a different guy named Alfred Conte, who was convicted of Medicaid fraud, but Ohio, Franklin County expunged his record. They let him plead down, and then they expunged his record. He didn't have to pay any money back except like $500. And the Ohio Nursing Board let him keep his license. So you've got the Contes, the Achiapongs, and it just seems to be the family business is billing Medicaid.
That's what you suspected. It's just their family business. When you look at the statistics, nearly, what is it, almost 80% of the Somali households in Minnesota receive some form of welfare. Someone in that house receives some form of welfare. How insane is it that we allow someone to immigrate here, and then after they break our laws, we let them stay? After they defraud our government, after they steal from their fellow American citizens, we let them stay? We drop the charges? What is going on? Oh, yeah, I know we brought you here from a third world country, and all you did was immediately steal from your neighbors. But we're going to let you stay? That is just dumb. Who is in favor of that? All right, coming up on my next topic here, I know this is going to get a lot of people riled up. I'm ready for it. Let's just go ahead and get it out of the way. Michael Quinn Sullivan from Texas Scorecard has a nice little summary he put out this morning on the Texas Minute about Governor Abbott putting a freeze on new data center projects. And he says he's just calling for an audit here. But he's already run off a giant investment that was going to be made in Henderson County, just 2 counties east of here, by Cedar Creek Reservoir. How many more are going to be run off? How much money are we losing? How much potential tax revenue is lost? You know, Henderson County isn't just swimming in tax revenue. They don't have like the greatest record of development. A data center paying taxes would have changed that community for the better. Oh, but we're worried about electricity. We're worried about water. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, bro. But in the meantime, this is not good for Texas. I'll play his report, and then we'll have Michael Quinn Sullivan on as my next guest after the news update. But this was from this morning.
Thanks for making the Texas Minute part of your Tuesday. If you enjoy the Texas Minute, please share the show with your friends and family. You can also give it a rating on your podcast app, click thumbs up on YouTube, and tap that like button on X. Let's get into the news. Amid a massive surge in requests for data centers to connect to Texas' power grid, Governor Greg Abbott on Monday ordered state regulators to conduct a comprehensive verification and audit before any more are approved. Abbott said projects that fail to comply with state requirements must be denied connection to the Texas grid. In a letter to grid regulators, Abbott wrote that the action was being partially taken because of the failure of some data centers to comply with rules regarding water and power usage. The governor added that he will work with state legislators to ensure data centers' power, water, and financial stresses, as well as, quote, impacts on local communities are all reduced for Texas residents. While Texas has previously been ranked second in the nation for data center inventory, recent polling has indicated that Texans oppose the construction of a data center in their own community.
Now, this is something that makes me just want to pull my hair out here, because we've gotten a lot of people who are on Team Red and who seem to understand how the world works and how the economy works and all other facets of life, but this one. When they do the polling here, Fox News did a poll back in July. When you ask, are you in favor of data centers being built in your area? Only 19% of liberals said they favor data centers. 80% of them are against it. When it comes to Republicans or MAGA Republicans, 46% of them. What is going on when a majority of MAGA Republicans agree with the liberals? We'll talk about that next with Michael Quinn Sullivan from Texas Scorecard on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, your governor is getting it wrong about data centers. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Now, I know a lot of people are going to argue with me on data centers and that you're going to aggressively misinterpret what I say. It's like, why are you wanting to contaminate the waters, James? No one's pro water contamination. Stop saying silly things. Just know that whether you agree with me or not, you're welcome on the James Show to express your opinion and disagree, and we can still be friends because I appreciate all of my listeners who agree with me, and I appreciate all of my listeners who are wrong. My next guest, Michael Quinn Sullivan, is going to break down how this is playing out here in the great state of Texas. He comes from the Texas Scorecard. I played you his segment from the Texas Minute that he just released this morning in the last segment. So if you missed that, you're going to have to go watch it at texasscorecard.com. But Michael Quinn Sullivan, it's been a real head scratcher to hear our governor take the position of Bernie Sanders, AOC, and the Chinese Communist Party when it comes to data centers in Texas. Well, my concern is it's running off investments. There was a big data center project worth billions that was proposed for Henderson County. Cedar Creek Reservoir over there is going to be in that neighborhood. And with the governor's new orders, we got to do this audit and, you can't add to the energy costs or whatever the heck. You got to make your own energy. I forgot the specifics there. They already pulled the plug on a big project. And, I mean, that data center is going to be built somewhere else now. Well, look, we have a governor who wasn't saying anything when the first 621 data centers were built in Texas, but at 622, this is the new Abbott.
We're talking about property taxes. Let me tell you about something else that I'm fighting for that dovetails right into fighting for East Texas values, and that is pushing back against these AI data centers that are trying to build in our neighborhoods.
All right, so what's with the about face? Is he starting to get money from somebody and we didn't know about this? What made him change his tune on data centers? Well, Michael Quinn Sullivan, there was a Fox News poll from a couple weeks ago. I saw this from Unleash Prosperity. And every single demographic they looked at, whether it's all voters, Republicans, white women with a degree, liberals, Democrats, all of them were at less than 50% in favor of data centers. So I'm in the minority on this one, big time. Yeah, it took a while for my dad because he never learned how to program a VCR, and so we were a little behind the curve on this. So thank you very much, Michael Quinn Sullivan. I really appreciated your report this morning on the Texas Minute, and thanks for being on the James Show. All right, that's Michael Quinn Sullivan. You can check him out, texasscorecard.com, and online on all the socials and the YouTubes and the things. He's got his regular show, the Texas Minute. It's just a quick little video summary. Not enough time to take away from the James Show, so you can go ahead and check that out. But coming up next, I'm going to play a couple of sound bites back to back from your governor this summer, as in recently, back to back with an AOC, back to back with a Bernie Sanders, back to back with some other people that he really shouldn't be agreeing with this much. So more on the data center debate in Texas coming up next on the James Show. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. All right, let's talk about data centers again. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And I know this isn't popular. I'm looking at the poll right now that tells me how unpopular I am. So this will make you feel a little better. It's not like I think I'm right and everyone else is just... Listen, I know I'm in the minority on this one, so I'm asking for your grace. I'm asking for you to be open-minded and prove that you're not some sort of closed-minded bigot, that you can stand to listen to someone who disagrees with you for a segment without having to turn the channel or get mad or try and get me fired from my job. But this is a Fox News poll. This was taken July 17th through 20th in 2026. So we're just talking a couple weeks ago. The headline says, voters reject AI data centers. The question is, would you favor or oppose the building of a data center in your area to support artificial intelligence technology? Now, out of all voters, 30% were in favor of it, 70% were opposed. So I'm already walking an uphill battle big time. But however, this is where I'm lost. I am truly lost. When you look at just Republicans on the question, would you favor or oppose the building of data centers in your area to support artificial intelligence technology? Only 40% of Republicans are in favor of it. 60% of Republicans oppose. So even in what is assumed, it's kind of the backbone, the foundation of the WBAP audience, still, I'm in a pretty stiff minority on that one. That's a 20-point swing. With MAGA Republicans, it's only 46% approved. With Republican men, it's only 45% approved. And then everything else is much lower. White women with a degree, 16%. Is this who you agree with now? The cat lady, 38 years old, never married, hates men, got 8 degrees. 16% of them favor data centers. Liberals in general, 19% of them would favor a data center in their area. When you look at Democrats as the label, 24% of Democrats would favor data centers. Now, does that make you rethink your position if you're opposed to data centers? You're not used to being on the same side as Bernie Sanders and AOC. And it should bother you that your governor sounds like them right now. Here's a couple of good examples right now. AOC.
These data centers power thousands of high-intensity computer chips that are processing at all times and require massive amounts of energy to operate. Just one hyperscale data center consumes the same amount of energy in 1 second as 100,000 households. Because of the massive amounts of energy they use, power and water utility companies must build multi-billion-dollar infrastructure to keep up with the demand.
Yeah. So here's Governor Abbott, June 22nd of this year.
Data centers must bring their own power. They must reuse their own water, and they must reduce electricity costs for residential customers as well as small business customers. Those are bottom line expectations.
Here's a clip from Bernie Sanders on data center.
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and I understand what is at stake. That is why today we are announcing legislation to impose a moratorium on the construction of new AI data centers until strong national safeguards are in place.
Yeah, just till we have some safeguards, that's all. So Governor Abbott, June 30th this year.
Before talking about property taxes, let me tell you about something else that I'm fighting for that dovetails right into fighting for East Texas values. And that is pushing back against these AI data centers that are trying to build in our neighborhoods. I've made clear already, any AI data center even thinking about coming here, they got to bring their own money, bring their own power, reuse their own water, and do it in a way that reduces the cost of electricity for residents across our state.
Why does the Republican governor of Texas, the supposedly red party in a red state, sound like the socialist, the far left wing of Team Blue? I don't know why this isn't a bigger deal. Let's go to Tom in Fort Worth. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hey, good afternoon.
Maybe.
Initially I didn't like the idea of the data centers, But the more I think about it, there's no reason why they couldn't be put offshore like the Chinese do. They have most of theirs in the ocean, and there's ample water supply.
All right, Tom, why do you think Meta's not doing that already?
Probably lack of government controls and lack of it's probably a little bit more expensive initially.
Yeah, it's probably more expensive in the long run as well.
That I don't know. I mean, if it's going to give them an ample water supply, that cuts out 1/3 of the overall problem.
How do you know it's 1/3 of the problem?
Well, it would be salt water that they're using to cool, and it wouldn't affect our groundwater, potable water sources at all. That's a huge factor.
Look, Tom, just look from the economic philosophy standpoint, just from economic theory, without knowing the numbers and the spreadsheets and whatnot. You can assume that if it was cheaper for them to do that, they would already be doing it. So the fact that they're not doing it tells you that there's some hurdle, whether you know about it or not, or what specifically what it is. It's not like they didn't think of this. It's not like it's not been proposed before. So you just assume that it's not cheaper or there's some other logistical shortcoming to it. One of the reasons that they want to build so many data centers here is because there's 2 giant hubs for the internet that are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so, geography isn't really that important, but it does mean something. And so if they want to build data centers closer to hubs, there must be an advantage of that. And building it out in the ocean is further away from the hubs. So just assume that there's a cost or that there's some sort of logistical reason they don't do it. You call in and asking like, well, they hadn't thought about this. Let me tell them.
Well, the tax abatements would be the huge financial benefit. They can run so many write-offs through a tax abatement that might not necessarily be within the state of Texas, but they can sure run them through the corporation as a write-off expense and not pay taxes on it. But they wouldn't be able to do that if they were building these data centers floating on the ocean. So the fact that they're
Tom, I feel like you didn't hear a word I just said. Here, think about it like this, because I know I'm just doing a bad job explaining it because that didn't hit the mark. Let me try again. There's people who say they should put a McDonald's right here on this corner. Well, McDonald's knows where to put hamburger stands better than Tom in Fort Worth or James in Dallas or James in Bugtussle. And so just make the assumption that McDonald's has probably looked into it and have figured against it. And I don't know what the reason is. Maybe it's further from their warehouse. Maybe there's not enough walk-up traffic, or maybe that this is a place that's not zoned correctly. Maybe it is a tax abatement issue. But don't just assume like, well, they should do what I say, and they probably hadn't thought of this yet, and that'll solve the problem. You're making a lot of assumptions there that someone who's never built a data center is pretty cavalier about making.
Well, years ago, I was in real estate site selection for commercial retail operations, and they would typically buy a 5-acre tract and put a store on one corner, half an acre, and then they would hold the rest of the land in reserve and eventually settle off and make 10 times as much. But in the meantime, put 1 or 2 head of cattle on the land and pay $1 a year. So there's no telling what their ulterior motives are. But I think there's a lot more to it than what we're looking at superficially on the surface.
All right. But I mean, I also hear like it's a good idea to build them close to the water and whatnot. But what I really hear is this is my excuse to oppose them here. This is my NIMBY fallback. 800-288-9227. We'll continue the debate of data centers in Texas on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, Texans, are you in pain right now? I don't know what it is. Could be ankle pain, could be knee pain, could be hip pain, could be an elbow, could be a little too much tennis. Well, QC Kinetics may be able to fix you up in ways that old traditional medicine where they cut you open and then they poke around and they cut stuff up and then they sew stuff back together and then they stitch you back up and then they bring you back up and then they give you drugs and you have a rehab time. QC Kinetics is beyond all that. It's not going to work for everybody, but for the people that it works for, much preferable to surgery. You don't have to do the drugs. You don't have to do the downtime. No one has to put you under. You don't get cut open. There's no scarring. There's no nasty tissue. And most importantly, you don't miss work. I've done the treatments myself. You go in, it takes about 20, maybe 30 minutes tops, and then you just walk out and continue your day. So if you haven't looked into it yet, it doesn't cost anything to find out. Call QC Kinetics, 972-972-8610. 972-972-8610. Hey there, we're back on the James Show. Sorry, I hit a wrong button, and that was absolutely not my fault, not good Garrett's. But we're talking about data centers in Texas, and this is an issue that I think people misunderstand, that if we could just stop the data centers from being built, then we can stop all these other negative consequences. We can stop all of this data being collected on us and the government spying on us and the flock cameras and the AI and all the evil. No, that's not what's going to happen. I'm with you. I don't want the government to spy on us. I don't want them to collect the info on us. But the answer isn't to, well, let's have the data centers built in China. Would you rather them collect info and have it be stored in China, or have it be processed in China, or have the AI dig through it from some data center in China? Or would you rather have it in Granbury? Would you rather have it in Athens? You can't put the genie back in the bottle. We're going to have AI. We're going to have surveillance. If you want to tear it down, then start tearing down the government agencies that will do the surveillance. That's one of the great, beautiful things about my very unpopular preference to ending the drug war. The DEA is the number one grantee of FISA warrants. You know how they spy on Americans through the Patriot Act? Over 90% of FISA warrants are for the drug game, for the DEA. You get rid of that, there's going to be a lot less spying. There's going to be a lot less reasons to spy on us. So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of the ATF. We shouldn't have extra regulations on alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives. That sounds like an awesome store to me. You're worried about surveillance. You're worried about being tracked. You're worried about government watching your every step. Then tear down government. Don't tear down data centers. Daryl in Fort Worth. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Yes. Thanks for your show. I really appreciate it. So you ask about whether you want data centers built in your area. What do you mean by your area? Is that a block away? Is that a mile away? Is that 10? Because I think that makes a huge difference.
So I was just reading how it was written in this Fox News poll that was taken a couple weeks ago, and I don't have any further breakdown for you on that. That's just how it was proposed to these people in the survey. So I was repeating that specific verbiage. But yeah, it does make a big difference whether it's next door or if it's a mile away.
It could make a huge difference. I'm all for data centers being built, but there's considerations about noise pollution, light pollution, water resources. So in your area really doesn't mean much to me. You need to say within 5 miles, 10 miles, across the street, whatever.
Yeah, and well, a lot of the questions and pushback against data centers aren't even data center specific. Now we're just talking about regular old property development issues that come up with whether it was a data center or as a hot dog stand or if it was a Buc-ee's. Because, you have a lot of people who's like, I don't want to have a data center built next to me. Yeah, but you don't want to have a liquor store built next to you either. So it's not necessarily something that's inherently wrong with the data centers. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the data centers. That just means you're picky about who your neighbors are.
There may be some things inherently wrong with data centers. Noise, light, water resources. There may be some things that are inherently wrong with having a data center across the street from my house.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we agree again. Thank you very much. That's Daryl in Fort Worth. This is Randy in Frankston. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
I've got the perfect place for your data center.
Okay.
Put it where all the solar farms are.
Yeah, right. If we could pull all those up and replace them with data centers, that would be a beautiful idea, Randy in Frankston. Why aren't you in charge?
I don't know. Probably because I can't get along with that many people.
Well, same here, man. I only have like 8 friends. But Randy, your beautiful sarcasm reminds me of an issue that happened when I was in New Orleans for a little while. They were bragging in the news about this new solar farm that just got approved for up the river in St. Charles Parish. And I went and looked up the river. Isn't that by the nuclear power plant? And there's a nuclear power plant just up the Mississippi River between New Orleans and Baton Rouge. And it does like 120 or 1,024 megawatts, like a gigawatt an hour. The wind farm or the solar power plant would have done 1/1000th the electricity generation of the nuclear plant. And they were still celebrating on the news. Like, this is a big victory for renewable energy. Yeah, if you build 999 more of them, it'll equal the electricity output of the nuclear reactor next door. Yeah, it's a great way to use electricity, great way to generate electricity, very judicious and efficient use of our tax dollars. It's fantastic. All right, coming up next on the James Show, the guy coming on is Adam Mangana. He's from Accuracy in Media, but he's talking about how AI and virtual worlds are going to be used in classrooms, and it's going to take homeschooling to the next level. Stick around for that on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You want to listen to this segment really hard if you're a homeschool parent, if you're thinking about being a homeschool parent, if you haven't decided yet. My next guest is going to shed some light on how technology is really changing that. Adam Mangana is coming back on. Welcome back. It's been a while here, and usually I get you busting somebody doing DEI and a faculty they're not supposed to be doing it. But today's a little bit different. Let's talk about the technology in the classroom intersecting. Well, Adam, I like the part about how the technology may be improving something that we thought was a failure just 6 years ago. During COVID, my kids, all four of my kids, had to stay home from school and replace that experience with Zoom. And it was not up to the task. I mean, I'm sure some students did well on it, but some students did not acclimate to that at all. However, if you start to put virtual reality headsets on the kids, I can see how that might make a little bit of a difference. Right? Well, I'm so excited to see people doing this because my kids got an Oculus for Christmas now almost 2 years ago, Christmas before last. And you know, we started out playing games on it, but I ended up doing a bunch of history things. And people have already put together these virtual reality worlds that you can put on the headset and you can just go to the beginning of the Battle of Gettysburg and you can walk through the battle and you look to your left and there's a guy shooting. You look to your right, there's a guy getting shot. You look down, you're stepping over a carcass of your buddy that was just in front of you a few seconds ago. Or one of the other ones is you would watch a famous Roman battle like the Battle of Cannae, but you would be on a hill on the side of the battlefield watching the two armies go at each other. And that kind of immersive experience seems to be something that would cure the people that are accused of having ADD now. You know, some people just aren't meant to sit in a class and read a book. Some people need all that. They're visual learners. They're audio learners. So what I'm foreseeing here is you're going to put on the virtual reality headset. You're going to be in a room with other people, and there's going to be a teacher up there, but that's not a human being. That's an AI that's teaching. However, unlike what homeschoolers have been subject to in the past, is you'll actually be able to ask that teacher questions, and they will be able to field the question and answer it. And because you're in a classroom with 30 other people, you'll get to hear the questions that other people ask that you didn't think of as well, and sort of do a little bit of accidental learning like that. And this much more closely mimics the classroom experience than our previous iterations of homeschooling. And I think this makes homeschooling a much more appealing prospect. All right, now 2 takeaways I have from this. One of them is the tangible one. As soon as this gets mastered, it's going to be superior to the current public school system. And one of the big ways it'll change everything is your kid's education is no on your zip code. And then the other big one is this is going to be amazingly cheap. This is going to be because you can scale it up to infinity. You don't have to pay teachers. You don't have to pay janitors. You don't have to cut the grass on the campus. You don't have to have buildings and air conditioning and stadiums and all that other stuff. So I see nothing but good coming of this, Adam. All right, Adam Mangana, the people listening, if they're interested in finding out more about your outfit, Optima Ed, how do they find you online? Yeah, you'll have to come on again soon. I love talking about this kind of stuff. I got 4 kids, and homeschool's always been something that me and Miss Parker have debated, and you guys make it a lot more attractive. All right, 800-288-9227 if you have any comments on that. Coming up next, the WNBA is getting way too much attention over the slightest of grievances, but we'll address it next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, we're only talking about the WNBA because it has nothing to do with basketball. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. By the way, I'm going to say things that sound sort of like condescending or reductive about the WNBA. I am not inherently anti-women's basketball. I'm just sort of indifferent to the whole endeavor. You know, I like the idea of women having their own league. The idea that it's subsidized by the men and then we still get lectured about it, that's where I'm going to have some stronger opinions here. But I don't wish any ill will. I wish they made money on their own. I wish it was profitable. I wish, a lot of other things. But I'm just not that big of a fan of basketball anyway. I don't watch the NBA that much. I don't have enough bandwidth to start a new sport. But we're talking about them today, not because we're talking about basketball. Oh, no. That's like the 8th most important part of the WNBA, apparently. For some reason, one coach was asked about trans in the WNBA, and they said something nice about it. And so then they had to go ask all coaches. And there's just been, over the last week or two, this weird collection of interviews where some people are okay with it and some people don't want to give their answer. And then other people are okay with it. No one's against it. No one would dare go out and speak against the narrative, trademark. But here's where this discussion is coming from. This is the coach of the Valkyries. I don't even know what city they're from.
For me, sports is about belonging. It's about inclusivity. It's about allowing everyone to be their authentic self. I'm big on that just because I have been criticized for my height, for my ethnicity. I've been in those "you shouldn't belong here" many times. And for me, I don't want that space, especially Golden State, to ever feel like that. So I'm all about women, little girls deserving to play, and that includes trans women. So I'm all about inclusivity.
Yeah, I didn't get that at all. That's not what sports is about. Let's break it down on sort of a more academic level. Sports are something that has been a part of every civilized society going as far back as we have records. The oldest records we have are from the ancient Sumerians around what is Iraq now. And even in their old cuneiform tablets where they would poke a little piece of mud with a reed and then bake it, they talked about sports. And that was one of the determining factors that the ancient Sumerians used to judge the tribes around them, if they're civilized or not. Do they play sports? Are they just a bunch of nomadic goat herders? Are they a bunch of people that are chasing around their food all day? Do they have cities? Do they have enough free time and affluence to actually take part in sports? But the reason why sports persist, especially with men throughout every society, is because we're really only fueled by two things: sex and war. That's it. Those are the two most exciting things to men: sex and war, and sports as an analog for war. And I have no idea what this lady's talking about. This is about inclusivity and everyone can be the best expression of themselves. No, it's not. In fact, when growing up playing football and bug tussle, this wasn't about inclusivity or everybody getting to express themselves. It was, can we take this ball and can we cram it down their throats? Are we bigger, faster, stronger, smarter, and better disciplined so that as much as they try, as hard as they want to, they can't stop us? It's about driving people into the dirt. It's about winning. It's about scoring more points than the other guy. It's about denying him every chance he wants to score. It's about you go home a hero and he goes home embarrassed. It's about you go home and everybody's giving you a high five. He's upset that his mom and girlfriends are in the stands and had to watch that embarrassing thing that you just put them through. It's not this lovey-dovey thing where we get to express ourselves. That's not what it's about at all. It's not about inclusivity either. No one gives a damn. If the Dallas Cowboys won the Super Bowl and every single one of them was an Asian fella, no one would care. No one would be like, well, where's the diversity? We'd be like, those are some bad Asians. We'd be celebrating it. But listen,
for me, sports is about belonging. It's about inclusivity.
What is this? Is this the Care Bears or is this sports? Here's another one. Stephanie White, another coach in the WNBA.
I don't know that I would say that I'm educated enough from a scientific standpoint. I don't ever believe that exclusion is an answer. I just don't. I do think, when we think about various levels of sport, various governing bodies of sport and things that go into that, like I said, I'm not educated enough at the different levels. I know growing up, I played with the boys all the time.
You already know what's going on here. You know she wants to say no, but she can't because she will get dog walked right out of the league. Oh, yeah, I'm not educated enough on the subject to have a strong opinion. Really? Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina. That's over your head? That's too complicated for you? You can't answer the question. Just answer the question. Notice how the people who say, yes, I'm okay with trans in women's sports, they are free to say whatever they want. They're not worried about it. They don't sound nervous. They don't sound like they're about to lose their job. But this lady, I don't know, jeepers.
I don't know that I would say that I'm educated enough from a scientific
Listen
standpoint.
how scared she sounds. All right, here's another one. This is, I think this is an owner. Is this an owner or a coach? Cheryl Reeves. She was wearing a shirt that said trans kids need to be protected or something like that. She was asked about trans in the WNBA. See if she's worried about giving her answer.
I don't think we should feel like our safe space is being threatened. That's what I enjoy about the WNBA, and I think we have to continue to safeguard that. I come from a space of inclusion, and the narrative that I think that is problematic is to suggest that number one, that transgender athletes are the biggest problem in women's sports. And I think this is what's bothersome, is that there's a faction of people in our country that are making this.
This is just goofy. Is there anything less inclusive than sports? Because she started out, well, sports is all about inclusion. No, it's not. And I can tell you it's not all about inclusion. Because when I was playing football and I got into high school, I'm a late bloomer. I know I'm a big dumb animal now, but seriously, when I walked in my freshman year of football at Buck Tussle High School, I was 5'2", 108 pounds. Do you think I got included a lot? Fourth string wide receiver? You think you're going to give me a lesson about inclusion? There were games where I didn't even get in the game. I wasn't included in one play in a game we played against Liberty Ilo in Texarkana. There were a lot of games where I only got to play maybe 4 plays the game. No, it's not all about inclusion. The starters are on the field. The bad kids are riding the bench. And if you don't like it, suck less, Parker. That was the lesson I got from sports. What is this? Oh, it's all about a safe space and inclusion and everyone can be their proper selves. No, this is sports. You score, you're good, or you ride the bench. And that's okay. In fact, that's fair. That's a meritocracy. That's justice. That's not social justice. That's justice. So now we have a big media figure who is putting $10 million of his own dollars on the line in the bet of the century. He is saying the champions of the WNBA from last year, the Las Vegas Aces, would lose in a game to a boys high school state championship team. Details coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. There's a $10 million bet on the line for the WNBA. This would be the most money they've ever made off a basketball game, I think. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Now, listen, again, I want to start off the segment by saying I don't hate the WNBA. I wish them all the success in the world. I'm glad little girls have someone they can look up to and whatnot, but let's not be silly here and act like there's no biological difference between men and women. That doesn't mean trans people don't deserve the right to live their life however they see fit. If you're a dude that wants to run around and dress, more power to you. You're not hurting anybody else. That's fine. But don't act like we don't know what all the Olympic records say. All the men are bigger, faster, and stronger than all the women as far as the records go. It's not insulting to say that. It's not bigoted to say that. It's not hateful to say that. It's not coming from a place of hate, that's for sure. It may be interpreted as such. But for many of us, it's just handing out biological reality. Now, when people in the WNBA say, well, I don't know if we should allow... Here's the question again for those...
What is your stance on men or athletes who test as biological male participating in women's sports? What's your personal stance?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would say that I'm educated enough from a scientific standpoint. I don't ever believe that exclusion is an answer. I just don't.
Don't you like this idea that you're not qualified to have an opinion unless you're one of the expert class? Boy, what kind of submissive garbage is that? So now it's come to pass. In years past, a guy on Outkick, Clay, has made a bet. Now, this is from 2023. This is from his show on Outkick. It's a sports show. October 20th, 2023.
I'll put $1 million on the line. Your WNBA champion team, that's the Las Vegas Aces, against a 2024 high school boys state champion team of my choice.
All right. Now, so this is a bit that's been running for at least 3 years. Well, I guess he's just had it and he's upped it to now, instead of $1 million, it's $10 million. And it's getting so big. How do you ignore it? So check out this quick 1.5 minutes from the Will Cain show where Clay was on with Will Cain on Fox News.
Because the WNBA has right now a lot of coaches that are coming out, including in the last day or two, saying, hey, if a man identifies as a woman, he should be able to play in the WNBA. I think that is absolutely ludicrous. It's absurd. The WNBA commissioner has not spoken out in favor of Sophie Cunningham or even just in favor of basic rules. It's called the WNBA because it's the Women's Basketball Association there, right? If they are going to allow men to play, I think we should have an actual game, not NBA players against WNBA players, high school boys. Let me pick a team. I will put it on pay-per-view. We'll donate all the profits to Tunnel to Towers for wounded warriors, for the families out there that they're helping to take care of, first responders. You know Frank Siller. They do incredible work. We'll put it on pay-per-view. If the high school boys win, I will give them $10 million. If the WNBA team wins, I will give them $10 million. I think we would raise tens of millions of dollars for charity, and I'm putting my money where my mouth is. If the WNBA really doesn't believe that men are that much better than women at basketball, then the champion of the WNBA should be able to beat a bunch of high school boys. Will. So far, they haven't responded. They always talk about how they want more money. This is more money for one basketball game than has ever been paid to win in the history of the sport.
Do it. Do it. Do it. Please, God, let this happen. Please make... Part of me thinks, they're not going to do it, James, because you know that they're going to be wildly humiliated and there's really no upside for them. But I still wish it would happen. Look, again, some people are going to misinterpret this as I'm bashing women. I'm not bashing women. I'm glad they have their own sports. I'm glad they have their own thing. I hope it's successful. I hope it turns profitable one day and it doesn't have to be subsidized by the NBA. But the nonsense, you can't make me repeat these lies. When John McEnroe said that Serena Williams was the greatest female player of all time, and the other commentators on the TV set with him were like, why do you have to put that qualifier on it? Why can't you say she's just the best at all time? Because she's not. And I have to deal with this. I'm a soccer fan, and I have to deal with the U.S. women's national team. Hey, you're great. I'm glad you win World Cups. That's awesome. Very proud of you. Very proud of your success. You're amazing. You deserve your praise for that. But you're not better than the men. Well, we deserve to be paid as much as the men. Oh, really? Line up then. Line up on the field with the dudes, and we'll see if y'all really do deserve to be paid as much as the men. But I really liked it better last summer when we were having different problems with the WNBA, because that was a lot more fun. Remember when they were throwing adult toys on the court? Wasn't that better times?
Hayes gets blocked by Maya Caldwell. Something flies on the court, actually, from the crowd. The officials will say they will continue play as that goes off the fingertips of the Valkyries.
And you can see the object, the block right there. And the object comes, that green thing bounces, and it goes to the sideline. We're not exactly we're not sure where it came from. No room for any of that type of activity. Yeah, and no one's picked the object up yet. You guys, oh my gosh, okay. Okay. Inappropriate. Get him out of here, whoever it is.
Yeah, that's so inappropriate. Wasn't that much more fun? Wasn't that better? Wasn't that? And I'm going to leave the final word on this very important topic to America's current generation, Mark Twain, Dave Chappelle.
Say LeBron James changed his gender. You know what I mean? Okay, can he stay in the NBA? Or, because he's a woman, does he have to go to the WNBA where he will score 840 points a game? What does it actually mean to be equal? You know what I mean? Like, if women are actually equal to men, then there would be no WNBA, would there? You would just be good enough to play in the NBA with us. Or, here's another idea that's going to be very controversial. You could shut the up.
And listen, if this game happens, and God knows I hope it does, do they have a chance at winning? No. They're going to be beat so bad, women will probably lose the right to vote. And that's why they don't want to do it. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, homeowners, James Parker here for Rhino Shield. When it's time to take care of your house, if your house is looking crusty, and you know what I mean, the chipping, the flaking, the peeling, the cracking, you see it kind of curling up on the edges by where it meets the roof. Look, let's knock that out. Let's get it covered, and then you never have to worry about it again. Because if you go with paint, you're going to have to go through this process again and again and again. And that's the beauty of Rhino Shield. You do it once, and then that problem is solved for the duration of your house. And it adds an insulation factor. It could be saving you on your energy costs right now while it's 128,000 degrees outside. And it just looks great. So if you're worried about the price, don't worry about that. They can put it on a low monthly payment. Paint can't. So you don't paint your house, coat your home. Go to rhinoshielddfw.com.
Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Well, we have the bet that the whole internet's talking about right now. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Clay from Outkick has put $10 million of his own dollars on the line for the WNBA championship, the Las Vegas Aces, to play a high school boys team of his choosing. I'm sure it'll be a state champ from some school. But we've had Clay Travis now do some updates since he made this. And he's been making this bet for at least 3 years here. But the number just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it's up to $10 million now. And it's getting a lot of attention because this is a lot of money to ignore. This is getting really hard to say no. How can you hold their worldview but also deny this game? Makes it pretty tough, doesn't it? So it's kind of brilliant what's going on here. And all this comes from a controversy of their own making, constantly asking people if you think trans athletes should be allowed in the WNBA. And wherever you come down on this one, it's whatever. But don't act like there's no difference, and don't act like this game wouldn't prove it. I hope they go through with it. I really do. I would love to see it. I would watch it. It'd be the first WNBA game any of us watched. Eric in Azle, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hey, how you doing?
Fantastic.
All right. Yeah, I think this point's already been proven. I recently read in 1998, the Williams sisters challenged any male tennis player that was ranked 200 or worse. And they got accepted. I don't think it was a monetary bet, but they got accepted by a German guy ranked 203rd in the world. And he beat both of them pretty handily. I think it was 6-1, 6-2 in the matches that he played against them. So,
I saw that floating around on the internet like within the last couple of weeks, and I had never seen that before. And I'm kind of surprised I hadn't heard of that before. But I have seen Serena Williams, actually, after the John McEnroe controversy that I'd mentioned in the previous segment. She was asked about John McEnroe's statements. For those of you who didn't hear, John McEnroe was saying after some tournament that Serena Williams winning this Wimbledon makes her the greatest female tennis player of all time. And the other pundits at the table were like, why can't you just say she's the best tennis player of all time? And he's like, well, because she's not. She couldn't beat any of the guys. And, oh, boy, they just lost their minds. And Serena was asked about that like within a week, and she's like, no, he's right. I would lose. If I had to play against Andy Roddick, I don't even think I could return his serve. And so she was actually very honest and frank about it and down to earth and reasonable. So I don't know if that's an apocryphal story. It's totally believable. It does surprise me that I haven't heard of it until the last couple of weeks, though, Eric.
Yeah, I hadn't done enough research on it to say it's absolutely 100% true, but I have found it several places. So,
well, look, and there's no hate coming from this side because I have nothing to worry about. What is there to hate on? I can't lose this argument. You can't lose this argument because it really is that simple, and it's tough, and it's hard to hold this position without sounding like a meanie to some people out there. But boys have a penis, girls have a vagina. I didn't know that was a controversial take. Maybe it is in 2026, but I'll just have to stand by that. But it's the same argument that keeps popping up, like when they talk about the soccer teams or the hockey teams. Remember, we had the issue with the hockey teams earlier this year where they felt like that they weren't getting fair treatment. And it really all comes down in a broader sense, in the political sense. This is what we're talking about when they talk about the gender pay gap. Women only make 77 cents on a dollar or 73 cents on a dollar. And the comeback to that is, well, yeah, but we're different. And proving we're different kind of puts that to bed. And by the way, 73 cents on a dollar, you're lucky it's that high, is all I'm saying. It's just, I think we can get that number much lower. Do I think it'll happen? No. Do I wish it'll happen? Yeah. Saturday Night Live, Michael Che in the Weekend Update made a pretty funny joke about this a couple years ago.
A new report claims that recent stories on the Sports Illustrated website were actually generated by AI, and it's already making delirious mistakes. For instance, it made up something called the WNBA. I know. I don't even know what that stands for.
Yeah, it could be anything. All right, coming up on the James Show, we have some back-to-school advice for you parents, and I guess if there's kids listening. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM. WBAP. It's back to school season. Some schools have already started here. I think in Dallas ISD, there were a few schools that started. My kids are already in band camp. Yeah, because they're the cool kids, clearly. My younger kid had to go get his equipment for football yesterday. So we're not quite back to school yet, but it is on deck and it is on your mind. I do cringe when I hear back to school preparedness segments, because this sounds like this sounds like it's written by people who don't have kids. It sounds like people who live in like a third floor walk up brownstone townhouse in Brooklyn Heights, and they have no idea what it's like having kids.
During summer vacation, many kids and teens fall into a different sleep pattern, going to bed later at night and sleeping in the next morning. But with the new school year approaching, it's important for parents to try and get their children back on a healthy sleep schedule before the first day of school.
Start 1 to 2 weeks before school starts. Try moving up that bedtime. But for some kids, moving the wake-up time earlier might be even better. You can start in small increments, such as 10 to 15 minutes.
Health experts say it's important to remain...
Does that sissy sound like he has any kids? Who are we getting our advice from?
Consistent with those earlier wake-up times through the weekend.
This not only gets kids set up for a great start to the school year, it starts to build really good sleep habits that are important for the rest of someone's life.
Parents should also focus on good sleep habits.
Make sure kids are going to bed in a quiet environment and they're putting all phones, devices, and screens away so they get to bed at a restful state.
Experts say getting morning light can help jumpstart a child's brain for the day, something as simple as going outside or turning on lights. And parents should watch for signs their children aren't getting enough sleep.
There are situations where even with a good bedtime routine, a proper wake up, and a consistent sleep schedule, that some kids may still seem tired, or maybe taking too many naps during the day, having headaches, not feeling focused. And in these situations, you want to talk to a professional.
And of course, as with everything, experts say parents should try and model good behavior by getting enough sleep themselves.
Oh, well, that's not happening. All of that was just fantasy talk. People think, I don't know, do we have a Baroness that's going to help us out with this? What is this, The Sound of Music? Yes, children, let's all make sure we get our proper 12 hours, 11 hours of sleep. Yes, it's 8 o'clock. Let's adjust our times for a week in advance. We're going to do this dry run where my kids are going to go to bed early and then they're going to wake up early for no reason. Shut up. I have 4 kids. They're not going to do that. I get some of them to do it some of the time. But when you have 4 kids, it's every day someone's having a meltdown or someone's having a screw up or someone's having an exception. Someone's having like a practice that ran late, or they're staying at a friend's house, or they got stuck at grandma's, or they need a ride, or they're at the park. Yeah, we're going to do a dry run for a week in advance. Yeah, just for funsies. That's not how it works in the real world. Here's how it works in the real world. You try and get your kids to go to bed. You go to bed. Then you hear them up around doing something. Then one of you has to get out of bed and go tell them to get back into bed. But since you have 4 kids, if one of them's out of bed, it has a tendency to wake at least one of the other ones up, if not all 3 of them. And so now you have at least half your kids are up. Then you go back to bed. And then most nights you wait about 15, 20 minutes. You'll hear someone try and go to the kitchen. It's like, no, the kitchen's closed. I just want to get a drink of water. Well, then why didn't you go to your bathroom? It doesn't work like these people on the news say. Yeah, you don't just tell your kids, oh, kiddos, it's 8:30, time for bed. And they go, oh, thank you, Papa. And they're all in their pajamas ready to go to bed. No, usually it's like, hey, it's 8:30. 3 of my 4 kids haven't had a shower by now. What is going on? A shower now. Turn it off. Off. Not pause. Off. You're done. Unplug it then. Now, who's going to... No, you can't use my bathroom. No, you used it yesterday and y'all always... Go to your own damn bathroom. This is how it works in the real world. Oh, and make sure you wake them up and you make sure they get lights. Yeah, I'm supposed to just kick them out of bed at 6:30. Come on, let's go to the backyard. Go stare at the sun coming up. What fantasy world are these people living in? These are kidless people who are giving advice to people who have kids on how to best raise kids. What is going on? That's like if I didn't know how to swim and I was going to give you swimming lessons. What is so annoying. And it just passes. Does no one have kids like anywhere in the chain of custody on this story before it gets to the air? Because I used to work in TV and I used to stop that kind of stuff. People were like, make sure that your child is always wearing a helmet when they're on a bicycle. I'm like, well, I'm not saying that on TV. Are you kidding me? That's the lamest thing I've heard all day. I never even owned a bicycle helmet when I was growing up, and I rode a bicycle all the time. Did you have a bicycle helmet when you were growing up? Are you fine? Crazy talk. And then the other big controversy that's going on with schools is, oh my God, they might be exposed to Christian values. WFAA has the report. All right, I thought they would have the report. Computer. Let's try this again. Still not happening. All right, well, WFAA had the report, but the law that passed now a couple of years ago to put the 10 Commandments in schools, there's so much weird things going on with that law. Number one, it passed, but the 10 Commandments are so important, they have to be in every classroom. But it's not so important that we would spend taxpayer money on it. So now all the posters have to be donated. Have we ever done that before in history? Have we ever mandated a piece of curriculum, or I guess it's really just a prop or a decoration on the wall in public schools? They had to, by law, be in the classroom, but also donated. So weird what we're doing here. All right, let's see if I worked around it.
If you are a parent or have been paying attention to any education-related news over the last year, then you know the 10 Commandments are going to be up in public school classrooms this year. Allen ISD last fall announced that they received at least 1,500 posters, and they went up. But now that we're starting a new school year, in this week's Texas No Filter, let's refresh ourselves on this still relatively new law. You may see public school classrooms begin to display the 10 Commandments. That is because of Senate Bill 10, a law that was passed and signed by Governor Greg Abbott last spring. The law was quickly challenged in court, but just this April, a federal appeals court allowed it to remain in effect while the case moves forward. So here is what this law requires. Every public elementary and secondary school classroom must display a durable framed copy or poster of the 10 Commandments if it was donated to them. It must be at least 16 by 20 inches, placed in a conspicuous location, and use the exact wording written into the law. Schools cannot substitute a different version. Now, here is what the law does not require. Teachers do not have to teach the 10 Commandments. Students do not have to read them, memorize them, recite them, or even agree with them. The law requires the display of the 10 Commandments, not necessarily religious instruction. Now, supporters say having the 10 Commandments up in these classrooms help explain the root of American law and Western civilization. Opposers of having the 10 Commandments up say this is a violation of the First Amendment, and those of a different faith, religion, or of none at all may feel excluded. And that opposition, that argument, is exactly why this law is still being challenged in the courts, even though schools are required to continue to follow this law.
All right, so that was WFAA. Great report. No bias there. So fantastic. But yeah, so you ever noticed how this whole exclusion thing only goes one way? We can't put this poster on the wall because people of other religions or non-belief might feel excluded. Okay. But what about Christians when you wipe Christianity out of all curriculum, even where it belongs? You're not worried about us feeling excluded? Oh, no. That only works one way. Well, then you're not really worried about exclusion. You're just an anti-Christian bigot. All right, that's going to about do it for the James Show today. Santana and the Doobie Brothers Oneness Tour coming to American Airlines Center August 22nd. Get tickets and information at livenation.com and listen to the WBAP Morning Show all week. Maybe you can win some tickets from them. I'm James Parker. Mark Levin's coming up next. This has been the James Show on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.